Emotional content is filmed on Whadjuk Noongar land. This podcast acknowledges the traditional owners and custodians of country. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land. Come for the stories, stay for the connection. I'm your host, Amy Jane Brand, and this is your weekly dose of emotional content. Hello, my loves, and welcome back to another episode of Emotional Content. This week's episode is a really fun one that I have been meaning to do literally since March. If you remember listening to my episode called The Night Three Girls Kicked My Ass, that was about my journey with alcohol and unpacking some of my most wild stories whilst under the influence that I can discuss on the podcast. Other times, probably not, but I did share with you some funny stories. And in that episode, I asked you guys to share some of yours. So today we are going through some of those submissions that you guys sent in for me to share on this episode. We are talking all things chaos, potential regrets, and some hilarious memories. So in saying that, let's get into the episode. As you can imagine, everyone that submitted into this episode did not want to be named, so these are fully anonymous. I'm either making up names for them or I've just made up a name for the story, but I wanted to get started with what I would say is probably the most interesting of all of them, and yeah, it's definitely starting with a bang. I called this the revenge fiancé story. I found out that my fiancé had been sleeping with my best friend, and it had been going on for almost a year. My heart sank when I read this. I caught him because he left his Apple Watch at home while he went to work, and the messages started popping up. It wasn't even like it was just one mistake. It was a full-blown conversation about how much they loved and missed each other, and I completely lost it. Oh my God, I don't actually know what I would do if I saw that. Probably would get my car and drive it into my fiance's work. Would do something absolutely unhinged if I saw that. Sorry, carry on. I called my girlfriends and we started drinking at my place straight away. Shots, bottles, and whatever else we could get our hands on, if you get what I mean. I just wanted to burn everything down. Someone joked about how hot his dad was and how I should hit him up for revenge. It started off as a laugh, but after about 10 shots deep, I actually considered it. So I ended up sending his dad a photo. Oh my God. Oh, not the dad. Not the dad. I didn't send anything full on, just suggestive enough that he definitely got the message. He replied straight away, telling me to come over without hesitation. The dirty dog. You know what? I can't even imagine any of my ex-boyfriend's dads doing that. Like, they would have to be way younger dads, I reckon, to do that. I don't know. Maybe I'm just fucking delusional, but anyway. So we all rocked up to his house and I ended up sleeping with him. To be honest, I wasn't even drunk by the time it happened. It was just pure rage. It felt like the only thing I could do that would even come close to how much my fiancé had just hurt me. Before I left, I made sure to take a few photos of me in his bed, hair messy, wearing basically nothing, with his arm in the background. Later that night, while standing outside my ex's work, I airdropped him the photos to his phone. He must have worked in a club or a restaurant or something. He went into full meltdown mode. I could see him through the windows. Hello. But the best part was the next morning when the dad updated his Facebook profile picture. Yeah, this is wild. It was a photo of me sitting at his kitchen table, drinking coffee, wearing one of his shirts. No caption, no explanation. Just posted it public for everyone to see. My ex, his mates, even his ex-wife, who still had him on Facebook, could see it. The other thing I forgot to mention was that my ex and his dad did not get along. So that's why he was more willing than ever to join in and teach his son a lesson. After that, I deleted every trace of them both. I do kind of feel bad about it, but also not. I think the dad posting me the next morning threw me a lot, but oh well, karma's a bitch. Not the DILF. Not the DILF. Screaming. So would you guys do that? Would you sleep with the dad for revenge? I don't know if I would do that personally. Absolutely no judgment. I just think in my 20s, potentially, I would have. But in my 30s, no, I don't think I would. To be honest, I probably wouldn't go on a bender as soon as finding that out. I would probably rock up to my best friend's house and it would probably turn physical, which also isn't healthy, but like I would be so pissed at my best friend. Obviously I would with my fiancé, but if I was going to get married and then my best friend had done that, who was probably going to be either a bridesmaid or the maid of honor, I would absolutely take a lot of that out on her as well. Yeah. And then he would be disregarded like trash. I think the craziest part of the story is the dad posting that on his social media, like, hello, he got so involved in that, like more than he actually had to. That is wild. I can't help but feel angry towards your friend though. Like that's such frenemy vibes. Over a year of sleeping together and you're planning a wedding. Oh my God, it's like that. The betrayal of that is fucked. I would be cutting her off so hard. Queen, thank you so much for sending in your story. I appreciate you sharing that. And I hope that you get some new friends far away from that girl because she does not deserve you as a friend. And obviously your ex-fiance can completely go and fuck himself as well. Nobody deserves that kind of treatment, but I am so sorry that that happened. Sending you a lot of love. And again, thank you for sending that in. Okay, this next story is from Benny. I just made up the name because you guys have either written like, please keep anonymous and put your real names in, or you've written like not applicable. So we're flying with Benny on this one. Worst drunk night. Strap yourself in. It was 2018. I finished work early and somehow got dragged into this random pre-drinks with a bunch of gays I barely knew. You know the vibe. Everyone's in mesh tops, somebody's already crying, and someone is DJing off of a portable speaker. I started smashing down vodka Red Bulls like they were Hydrolite and thought I was being cute by introducing myself to everyone, like the social butterfly I am, only to find out later that I had introduced myself to the same group 4 times in a row. I remember this cute guy handing me a mystery bottle. So, obviously, trying to be cool, I chugged it and I immediately blacked out from that point onward, like someone had just pulled my fucking batteries out. Apparently, I climbed into a random bloke's Toyota Corolla parked outside, stole the aux cord, and then tried to seduce him by singing and dancing across the bonnet of his car. Seriously, I would have ran me over. T. When he kicked me off his car, I decided that the footpath was now my new bed. Had a little nap there, during which apparently it had rained a lot. I got up, soaking wet, no shoes, shirt inside out, and had wandered into a nearby park where I had then tried to be one with nature. Kind of sounds like MD if I'm being honest. And ended up being stuck halfway up a tree. After some unknown amount of time, I stumbled into a stranger's house, politely knocked and asked them if they had any wine or a phone charger because my phone was now wet and dead. They then called the police on me. Honestly, to my surprise, the police were absolute sweethearts. They gave me a sausage roll from the servo and dropped me off at my mum's house, where she shook her head and said not again. Once I got home, I took a shower, fully dressed, flooded the bathroom, slipped over, and knocked myself out for 2 whole hours. Woke up, ordered Macca's, and passed out mid-chicken nugget. Safe to say, after that night, I decided that it was maybe time for me to take a little cheeky break from the alcohol. Oh my gosh. This is not only hilarious, but it's also just goes to show how scary blacking out is. I absolutely hate blacking out. And the only times that it happens to me is when I drink tequila, like too much of it. In that last episode I did talking about my journey with alcohol, I explained that I did not know for a while that tequila was an issue for me. And every time that I had it or too much of it, I would black out and I'd wake up and I'd not remember where I am, and it freaks me out. Like I will never get obliterated on tequila again. From those moments back in Surfers Paradise, completely getting absolutely off my head, I can't think of anything worse than not remembering my night and having to rely on other people's recollection of the evening and what I was doing or exaggerating it. It just sets off my anxiety or my hangxiety so badly. It's interesting because I actually don't remember the last time I had a hangover. that's how long it's been. I think we're actually coming up to 1.5, 2 years now. I think closer to 2 years that I've had a really big night. And I wouldn't say that I'm sober. Definitely will have big nights in the future. But just to keep a clear head and not have all of the anxiety that I get the next day, oh, mate. Hangovers for me take fucking years to get over now. Like, the older you get, the worse it is, honestly. Also, you are so lucky that nothing bad happened. Hitting your head and passing out, literally having a concussion, is so dangerous when you're drunk. This actually reminds me of a time that I was really, really shit-faced drunk. This was, again, living on the East Coast in Goldie. I was at a house party with a bunch of people and had gotten extremely wasted. I don't even remember what I was drinking. This was a very long time ago. I think I was about 22, and I had been horse riding for most of my younger years, so I was pretty confident on the back of a horse, and my friend's house had horses, so I thought it would be a really smart idea to drunkenly get myself on top of this horse. I'd never ridden before, no saddle, no reins. So the horse went bolting up the hill. I came flying off. I was wearing a tiny bikini. This is in front of parents. The whole house party saw me come flying off the horse. Tits fell out. I'm rolling down the hill. I'm pretty sure my underwear split open as well. So it was just tits, fanny, rolling down like a rag doll down this hill after literally hitting my head. Eventually, when I do stop rolling, I'm just laying there, boobs out, in complete shock that had just happened. After that, I went to go clean myself up in the bathroom because I had bruises, scrapes, all kinds of shit. And I decided that it would be a good idea for me to go and have a bit of quiet time in a walk-in wardrobe, and I fell asleep. I was there for hours and everyone was in a panic not knowing where I had gone. I not only made an absolute fool of myself in front of everybody at this house party, flashed parents, including dads, so we're talking about dads today, and then went and potentially cost my life by falling asleep after hitting my head. So I have done some really stupid shit when I was younger, and that is one of them. Benny, thank you so much for sending in your story. That is absolutely hilarious. I love the way that my gays talk. You always have such a flamboyant way of telling stories, and that one was brilliant. Okay, this next one is from Kelly. I just completely made that name up then because I think I have the real one written here. She has sent in 2 stories, which is fun. So I'm going to read both of them out for you. Hi, Amy. Firstly, I just want to give a massive shout out to how great your podcast is. I am loving every episode you've uploaded. Oh, bless you. Thank you so much, Queen. That's so lovely. You guys are awesome, by the way. Thank you so much for everyone that tunes in and writes in. It just makes my day. This is always fun to do, and I love you guys. Okay, getting into it. She says, I will preface this and acknowledge how wild and dangerous it is, but it does make for a good story. First, a small story I want to tell you that I remembered when you spoke about getting your ass beat by those 3 girls. Terrific. I was at a house party when I was 16, one of those really rough house parties, if you know what I mean. Yes, I am well aware of what you mean. Absolutely. I was sitting in this tiny shed with my friends and a bunch of other people. There was this girl there who absolutely hated me for no reason at all. She was wasted and grinding on some guy at the time, doing her thing. And 2 minutes later, the same guy came over to me. I won't use her real name for this, so let's just call her Sarah. He said, Sarah just had a knife to my throat and said that you are next. I sat there and I was like, what the actual fuck? Can you imagine 16 years old and someone's threatening knives? She must think she's really tough. And then 2 seconds later, Sarah launches herself over the table, thankfully no knife, and attacks me, straight up ripping chunks of my hair out. I'm not someone who backs down, so I gave it a good go trying to fight back. But to be fair, I still got my ass beat. Good for you for giving it a good crack back. You absolutely should always stick up for yourself, so love that. Luckily, she ended up getting kicked out of the party. After the fight, I was standing with a friend, and I'm someone who uses dark humour to cope, so I was just cracking jokes about it and laughing it off. My friend looked at me and goes, oh my God, she ripped all of your extensions out. And I turned to him to say, bro, that's all my real hair. Oh my God. Okay, I know why this story has reminded you of mine. Yep, I know that feeling of all your hair being ripped out far too well. Anyway, later when we were leaving the party, just walking the streets, I suddenly hear screaming coming from up the road. I turned to my best friend and said, "She's behind me, isn't she?" He looked back and he said, "Yep, she's coming." I started walking backwards, trying to get myself ready, and sure enough, she attacks me again. I tried to fight back, but she was so tall. She literally dragged me down the road by my hair. Yep, know that feeling. I don't remember how the fight ended, but the cops turned up. At this point, my hair was a full bird's nest. I have a massive lump on my head, and the police were like, "We've had reports of fighting. Have you seen anything?" And because I'm not a snitch, I looked at the cop dead in the eye and said, "No, officer, haven't seen a thing." And they left. As if the cops did not know that she had just been in a fight. They probably just couldn't be bothered dealing with it. Thankfully, after that, she finally left me alone. I guess no one had ever stood up to her before. A few years later, I actually saw her out in a club and she ended up apologising to me. Wow, that's really interesting because it reminds me of this girl that I went to school with. I'm not going to say her name, but she was really scary and nobody would ever stand up to her. But I decided one day out of nowhere, I think I was in like year 9, that I would tell her what everyone thought on MSN. Way back in the day, way before many of you listening's time. Yeah, I told her that she was a bully and she needs to leave people alone and she's not as tough as she thinks she is. Oh, that was not a good line to say to this girl because she was fucking tough as nails. But yeah, I was being a bit of a keyboard warrior, forgetting that I would have to see her the next day at school. I was actually sitting on the oval with 2 of my friends eating lunch and we heard this like literal rumbling. It sounded like the beginning of an avalanche. And we were looking at each other going, "What the fuck is that noise? That's so bizarre." And you could faintly start to hear people like shouting. It was like a big crowd was coming. Anyway, this bitch had gone through the whole school to round everybody up that she was coming to beat someone up. And that someone was me. And when I turned around, there was literally half the school, older years, younger years, everyone behind this girl. And when she saw me, she stampeded after me, which then sent everyone behind her running in my direction as well. And I remember just being like, holy fuck. I was like laughing out of like fear because I'm like, I'm going to get my ass handed to me. I remember seeing her beat up this girl that was considered really scary and strong a couple of years above her. And that was a pretty good indication that I was going to get my ass handed to me too. So I picked up my bag and my friends were like, "Fucking run." So I did. I ran and it felt like half the school was running after me with her. I'm sprinting through the school like there was obstacle courses trying to get myself to the principal's office. And I had just in the nick of time, managed to get into the principal's office, slam the door behind me and lock the door. And she was literally at the door like a baboon smacking it. This girl wanted blood because I said to her, "She's not as tough as she thinks she is." Screaming. She definitely was. She definitely was as tough as that. But unlike yourself, I never got an apology for her trying to quite literally kill me. I think she actually would have potentially killed me, but I was constantly watching my back, constantly after that for a long time. And I never should have said anything to that girl, but yeah, she was just a bully. Like she would bully everyone. She was just not a happy girl and she'd take it out on everyone. And I got so sick of it. But obviously that was not under the influence. I did that completely sober. Balls, very ballsy move on my behalf. There was another time when I was very drunk and I was around the same age and somebody had thrown a full can of beer at my head, like from quite far. At the time, I knew exactly who fucking did it. I turned around. I was absolutely shit-faced drunk, like so drunk. It was the end of a party that was at like a hired space at like one of your local shops. And I turned around, had my eye on her and started like running at her to immediately just fighting. Gloves are on. You've thrown a can at my head. That's it. It wasn't even an empty one. It was a full one. So it fucking hurt. Went sprinting after her. She's standing there and I go absolutely ass over tit, fall over and slide across the concrete, graze my hands up, the whole lot in front of everyone, just way too drunk to be fighting. Everybody's laughing at me. And then I get up, dust myself off and charge at her again and start fighting. total drunk baboon behavior, just mortifying. I remember feeling like embarrassed at the time, but also was so drunk that I didn't care. I just was intent on hitting that girl back for getting me. So much drunk, bad behavior back then. And police did come and try and break that up as well. So yeah. Now, I know this story is wild in itself, but the next story is the main course. Here we go. That was just the entree, guys. I had a friend's wedding, and it was actually the first wedding I'd ever been to, so I was extra excited. I definitely got a bit carried away though because it was an open bar, spirits included. Thankfully, I didn't do anything crazy at the reception. It was after the reception that things got a little bit wild. We all decided to head out to a club afterwards, and I'm definitely one of those people who disappears on a night out and goes on a million side quests. That's exactly the same as me. At some point, I came back to find my friends that had now been kicked out of the club and were heading back to their Airbnb. I honestly don't even remember how, but apparently I must have said I wasn't ready to leave yet. Somehow, thankfully, I found myself back at the Airbnb later anyway, but I don't remember how much or how I got there. I woke up the next morning completely confused about where I was, but thankfully I was with the group of girls. I called another friend to come and pick me up, and we went back to her house, along with one of the girls who had been at the Airbnb too. We were still very much drunk at this point, and we sat there for about 2 hours just debriefing on what had happened that night. And then, all of a sudden, I had a flashback. I stopped and I said, "Oh my God, guys, I remember what had happened." Turns out, when my friends had got kicked out, I had been standing outside the front of the club for a while, and I saw a girl that I sort of knew. She was in a really bad state, and it was obvious that she had been spiked, and security were doing absolutely nothing about it. So, drunk as I was, I took it upon myself to pay for a taxi, take her home, get her inside, shower her, and put her into bed to make sure she was okay. After that, I left her house and I started making my way back to the Airbnb to meet the crew. The next day, I checked my bank account and I had no other taxi or Uber transactions showing up anywhere. And there's no way that I walked all the way from her place to the other side of town. I had this super vague memory of being in a ute. So I asked my friend, the one who I remember coming out of the Airbnb to meet me, if she knew how I actually got there. And this is the dangerous part. Apparently, I hitchhiked. I shouldn't be laughing, that's so bad. Some man saw me stumbling across the road, pulled over to check if I was okay, and apparently I then demanded him to take me to the Airbnb that I was staying at. Demanded. Oh my gosh. Thank God he was a kind soul and just wanted to make sure that I got home safely. But honestly, how I live to tell this story, I have no idea. I will say though, I know I have undiagnosed ADHD, and it's very obvious when I look back at nights like this. I really resonated with the struggles you spoke about after a night out of drinking. I've always wondered why I have such a hard mental come down after a night out, even if it was a good one and nothing bad happened. It's something I've struggled with my whole life, and I never really understood why until hearing your experience. Oh my gosh. That is crazy. Hitchhiking with a random guy when you're drunk, pulling over to see if you're okay, is absolutely unhinged behavior. And I'm so glad that you know how dangerous that was, because that is setting yourself up for potentially getting in all kinds of really bad trouble. So thank God it was just a good guy, making sure that you were okay and didn't have, bad intentions. There are good men out there, so thankfully he was one of them. Firstly, I'm so happy that you looked after that girl. It sounds like you are an absolute girl's girl, and that's very much what I was like whenever, sober as well, but also having big nights out with friends, seeing randoms that needed help. I was very much the mother hen of the group. I always liked to make sure that everybody was okay, and I very much was always keen on going on a side quest. We sound very similar in that aspect, as well as the ADHD. I swear that people with ADHD have 9 lives. Like, we have so many stories to tell, and everyone that I've met is the same that has ADHD, ADD. We all have these just wild stories, and we have no idea how we manage to live and tell the tale. ADHD and alcohol is not the greatest mix, especially for the next day, the mental come downs that we have, the dopamine, the whole lot. It's just, it's a cocktail of not much fun. and I am a miserable cow when I have been drinking the next day. Girl, thank you so much for sending these stories in. Appreciate you for being a regular listener of the podcast. It makes me so happy, and I absolutely love that I got to read these out. So thank you. And so thankful that that guy was a nice human, to say the least. Okay, this next one is a hilarious one from a night out as well. And yeah, this one made me laugh. Babe, let me take you all the way back to 2019. Quite literally the foulest year of my life. Firstly, 2019 does not feel like it was that long ago, right? And it was literally, 6 years ago now? Holy shit, 2019, I still fully remember like it was yesterday. Anyway, I was 19, had zero responsibilities and even fewer brain cells. Me and my ride or dies decided to do a little rogue weekend away for a mate's birthday. 6 girls, 1 crusty backpackers hostel room, because obviously we were broke as fuck at the time. We're pre-drinking, there's grog everywhere, maybe even a few cheeky substances floating around. And at some point we end up crashing a random bucks and hens party because why not? We were there for a good time and an even worse decision. Fast forward, somehow we make it to the club. Don't ask me how, because I have no idea how we got there. Within 10 minutes of being inside, I find some bloke, drag him into the toilets and strut back to the girls like, BRB babes, he wants drugs and sex. Absolutely no shame. Next thing I know, me and this guy have left the club. No memory of how and no idea where we went. I didn't know the code to get back into our hostel room, but somehow this random guy manages to get us into a hotel room. We're hooking up, all good, until mid-act. He hits me with the thickest British accent you've ever heard. Call me names, love. I don't know if that sounds like an English accent. Call me names, love. I screamed, wrapped that shit up faster than you can say pash rash, grabbed my bag and bolted back to the girls. To this day, I have no idea who he was, what happened, or how I even got there. It's just one of those stories that's forever stuck in the group chat. I didn't realise that that would be such an ick. That's so funny. The thickest British accent. Coming from someone who is British, that is hilarious. Not the English accent mid-road, not the English accent. How dare he? How dare he hit you with that? That is so funny. Also, I wonder what names he was thinking for you to call him. I hope it wasn't Daddy. Look, guys, if you say daddy in the bedroom, that's absolutely fine. But for someone like myself who doesn't have a dad here any longer, it's a full ick. Like if some dude said to me to call him daddy, oh, that's an immediate, I would be getting the fuck out of there and bolting as well. Thank you so much for sending this story in. That is absolutely hilarious. And I hope you never get hit by a guy with a thick English accent in the bedroom ever again, because that is clearly a big fat ick for you. This next submission is a chick that was a bit of a fighter. After listening to the potty this morning, I knew I had to share this. A couple of years ago, I was out in town with my now partner and a friend, just having drinks. We were pushing through the crowd to get to the bar, but I'm short, so I was elbowing my way through, and this guy ended up shoving me. I shoved him back, but my partner didn't see that. So, trying to impress me, we were super fresh back then. He shoved the guy back too. The guy and one of his mates followed us to the bar, and his mate punched my partner straight in the face. Drunk me, and yes, I was also on Charlie. Oh no, not on the bag. You're definitely going to be kicking off. I went absolutely feral. Everyone was trying to hold my partner back while I was swinging at both guys. Punches, scratching, ripping shirts, the lot. I had them on the ground. Security ended up dragging them out and throwing them into a divvy van. A divvy van. That must be a paddy wagon, right? Oh my God, a divvy van. I'm pretty damn sure that that is like back of police car. After that, me, my partner and my friend went to the toilets to calm down. Some girls came in who had filmed the whole thing, but luckily my partner convinced them to delete the footage. I really hope they deleted that out of the deleted folder as well, because that is so stressful. They started mouthing off at us, and because I was still running on pure adrenaline, I went at them too. We ended up getting out of there, went home, my partner bruised and my wrist wrecked. Next morning, I was absolutely mortified. Couldn't stop thinking about who might have seen me act that way. Definitely learnt my lesson. I haven't gotten that wild since, and I never plan to again. Absolutely love the podcast and you. Oh, babe, love you. Thank you so much for writing this in and supporting the podcast. I really, really do appreciate it. And yeah, I wouldn't feel too much shame about that. I think it's a pretty killer story, to be honest. It's quite funny to look back on. Obviously, no one was seriously hurt. But I tell you something, in my experience, it's always the little ones that you've got to look out for. It's all about the fight in the dog, not the size of the dog. From what I've seen over the years, I will always place my bet on the underdog. And I have also been underestimated at different times in my life. So yeah, the small ones have a lot of fight in them, and it sounds like you absolutely do. Thank you so much to everyone that submitted. And if I didn't read yours out today, just remember that I save them for future submissions. I love reading out the stories that you guys send in, and I might start doing some where you can voice memo them so I can actually hear your voice. I feel like that would be a fun addition to the podcast too. Don't forget that if you have any sort of story that you would like featured on the podcast, you can head over to my website at emotionalcontent.com.au and hit the Submit a Story tab to send in all the details for me to unpack on an episode. As always, I'm sending you so much love. I hope you have an amazing week, and I will catch you in next week's episode. Bye, guys. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed the episode, please give it a share. You never know who might need a little emotional content in their life. For daily feel-good posts, follow @_emotional content on Instagram and TikTok. And don't forget to hit that follow button so you're notified every time a new episode drops. Your support means the absolute world to me.